specific regional questions, we will be more than happy to take those at the end of the conference call. We'll just stay on the line, and we'll be able to have all of our regional managers stay on, and we'll be able to answer any of those questions that you guys might have at the regional level. But as far as state and rules and all of those things, we'll try to keep it to that level. And ultimately, this is to help you all in your preparations. We know the more information that you have as you head into practice and you head into your regional event, the more you can prepare your athletes, and the less surprised you'll be when you get to the event, and the better they're going to perform, which is obviously the ultimate goal. So we thank you for being on. We thank you for all the hard work that most of you have already put in so far this year. And for those of you that only coach softball or bocce, we're excited to have you and excited for the upcoming season. So we'll go ahead and get started with dates of our regionals and states. For those of you that are on the computer, you can kind of follow my mouse here, but all of this information on the regions is, if you go under the About tab and you go to regions, you'll see all of our regions and their information on their website. So for example, if you have a question about the Denver region, you can click on more information, and you can see the Denver regional calendar, you can see the fact sheets, and all of those things. So that's kind of where you're going to find any region-specific information. Any state information will be found on that same About column, and it'll be under Competitions. And you can see all the summer stuff that's up. Susan will be sure to get the actual, this is summer games, she'll be sure to get the Summer Classic information up soon. So we'll get you that as well. As far as dates for softball, in the West, as you guys got the agenda, hopefully August 4th is your date. That will be for bocce and softball. That will be at Canyon View Park, and entries will be due to Julie by July 25th. In Denver, you guys will be on July 21st for softball at John Deere Park in Inglewood. Entries will be due to Adrian Mora on July 8th. The Northeast is July 28th. For softball, Garden Acres Park in Longmont. Entries will be due to Jeff Franklin, July 16th. And then for the Southeast, July 14th is your date. It'll be at Memorial Park in Colorado Springs. That'll be for bocce and softball. Entries will be due to Michelle Peters on July 1st. And as you see, bocce, the only differences for bocce than softball are Denver will not have a regional this year. So you guys will go ahead and get your entries to Adrian Mora, and then you're going to let him know if you want to go to the Northeast or Southeast. The reason behind this is because Denver hosts almost all of the regionals, and we always make the Northeast and the Southeast come to Denver. We very rarely don't have a regional in Denver. So this doesn't mean it'll be like this every single year, but instead of making the Northeast and Southeast come up to Denver to make a great regional, we decided to keep the regionals in the Southeast and the Northeast, and Denver will have to travel. So if you have any problems with that or any questions, you can contact Adrian, but that's kind of the reasoning behind that. And then in the Northeast for bocce on July 14th, you guys will be at Island Grove Park in Greeley, and entries will be due to Jeff Franklin on July 2nd. As far as the state goes, we will be August 19th. We'll be down in Colorado Springs.
Online thing. Oh.
Just a reminder that we will have you guys practice 8 weeks prior to going to state. Obviously, it's going to be really hard to get in 8 weeks of practice prior to the regionals, but we just want to make sure that all the teams are getting in that amount of practice heading into the state event. Any questions with dates of regionals or states?
I just had a quick question. Regionals for softball is held in Denver. It's just regionals for bocce that's not held in Denver, correct?
Exactly correct.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Huh? Okay, moving on, we'll go to the all-important forms that coaches have to fill out. These are all going to be found. We'll go through them individually, make sure everybody's on the same page. If you have any questions, I know we have some new divisioning for teams for softball. It's the same sort of format that we've used for basketball and soccer, but for those of you that haven't coached those two sports, I think it'll be important for you guys to understand kind of the changes in how we've laid out the divisioning. I know obviously that's one of the most important things that we do. To find these at any point in time, you're going to go to get involved, and then you're going to go to coach. You're going to go to coaching resources. This is where you can find a lot of things, coach education, all of our training sessions, as well as our coach handbook. And you'll see that as the second part down there, middle of the page. And then you'll go to Coach Handbook by Sport. When you click on that, you'll see all the sports that we offer. And you'll see bocce, you'll see softball down at the bottom. And I'm going to let Jeff Franklin take softball and kind of talk to you guys about some of the new things that we've added for rating your team, and then Susan will kind of talk about how that transfers into rating your players on the entry form.
All right, can you guys all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So it's pretty basic stuff. Those of you that have done basketball and soccer, like Linda said, it's kind of the same aspect, except obviously with softball, we're switching things up a little bit. I won't take too much time on it, but you're going to use these to rate your team entirely. And then on the end form, like it says, you'll do your players individually as well. And I know Susan will talk more about that after I'm done talking, so I won't touch on that yet. We have 4 levels, just as usual, level 1 being the highest, level 4 being the lowest division. Level 1, the easiest way I usually explain it to people is that it's like officiating a high school varsity game in that sport. It's a very high skill level. Usually it's difficult to tell the difference between a partner and an athlete, which is the ultimate goal. You can look at the numbers that we put in there just to kind of give you an example. Basically, this is going to be the top notch. These guys and gals play every single week. They know what they're doing. And we're going to officiate it as it is. This is the best as you can get. So if you look at the officials aspect, this is actually going to be for all levels. We're going to start with a 0 count this year. We'll call the game as it is rule-wise. We'll use both the safety base at first and the safety home plate. And no tees will be used in any division, just so you guys all know. I know that's asked every single year for specific people, but even in level 4, we won't be using tees. So again, level 1, top notch, can't tell the difference between an athlete and a partner, and then we'll go from there. Level 2, you're kind of on that verge of like getting to that top level. You have athletes and partners, again, both making plays. So you might have a few more athletes and partners that aren't at that level yet. Someone mute, please. Sorry, guys. So you might have athletes and partners that aren't on that level yet, but they're like on the verge of getting to that top level. And once you guys rate your athletes individually, you'll be able to tell a little difference once you do kind of like the law of averages that we play. So partners and athletes should complement each other and participate equally. Partners are allowed to tag people out in levels 1 and 2, so please keep that in mind. A partner is there to participate as well, so we don't want the athlete just doing everything. And then we go down to levels 3 and 4. These are our slower paced games. Level 3, we'll have the occasional like fast play, great play, however you want to look at it. It's usually the partners, maybe 1 or 2 higher level athletes are still kind of teaching the game to our athletes and getting them in the groove and getting them in the flow of the game and teaching them the rules as they go. And it's a medium to low skill level. If you look at the batting and fielding like Linda has on the computer, occasional contact with the ball, occasionally make the field play and all those things. And you can definitely tell the difference between the 3 and 4. So partners, again, a lot of mentoring while they're playing. This will be very similar in level 4. But level 4 is pretty much the slowest paced game we'll have. This is going to be a ton of coaching and teaching on the field, which we're all about. It's the best opportunity we have for our lesser skilled athletes. So we might have 4 or 5 partners on the field that are, great athletes and want to get involved, but they're letting the athletes kind of learn and feel the ball and hit the ball as they go, and letting them be way more involved, if that makes sense. So do you guys have any questions on the levels? They're pretty self-explanatory once you start obviously practicing and seeing all those things. I know most of you are experienced with this already. So do you have any questions on this? Okay. And then to add in on that, are we going to do the principal now, Linda? Yeah, okay. For most of you, I know like the Northeast region is all unified teams. So we have our principle of meaningful involvement. Obviously, it's on the screen. You guys can read through it. A majority of you, if not all of you, kind of already understand what this means, but I kind of want to touch on a few points. The main aspect of meaningful involvement in unified sports is that every teammate plays a meaningful role. In our opinion, partners aren't there to just show up and let the athletes do everything. They're giving up time and they're volunteering their time to be part of a team as well. So everyone needs to be valued, and that will all go back to obviously your levels once you sign your teams up and all those things, and every level and value of each player will be different. So every teammate should have a meaningful role and contribute their strengths to that team. And we're also building that social aspects with our players and athletes as well. So you can read through those things. I won't touch on most of them. I think one of the big thing is that it's really a gray area when it comes to kind of knowing what partner domination is. So when a partner is taking control of a game, in every sport, it's completely different. I have a few examples that I just want to share from my experience in the last 11 years, that we really rely on coaches to obviously teach their partners to be a fair level player for whatever team they're on, whatever level they're playing with. But as you guys look through those bullet points, an example of domination in like levels 1 and 2 would be if like the third baseman was so skilled, he's running on the infield to make a catch every time for the first baseman or the second baseman. Same thing, obviously, like in the left field. If they're running around the field and making every single play, we really don't want that. We want everyone that's on the field to be involved. So that's something where we look at as that's not meaningful involvement. It's not achieved when someone is just taking advantage of situations like that. And then if you want to flip it around to batting, if I'm batting the 3 spot and I'm a partner and I'm batting right-handed and I'm ripping the ball to right field every time I'm up just to get partner on third in, we all know that's not what we're here for. So these things happen occasionally. Sometimes they don't happen on purpose. I think the big thing with this is, especially at regional tournaments and at the state tournament, if anyone sees it happen, please make sure you communicate. We need to see it to make sure we know what's going on to address it, obviously. So again, there's bullet points there that you guys can read through. I'm not going to take the time to read through each and every one of them because most of you already have this experience. So do any of you have any questions on what meaningful involvement is with the unified aspect of what we do?
No.
Awesome.
No.
All right. Thank you guys. Again, like Linda said, if you have questions about this stuff with regional stuff, reach out to your regional director and we'll take care of you guys. Thanks for listening.
So question that we have online, are partners allowed to tag out runners in Division 3 and 4? And will there be a domination rule with the shortstop making plays at second base in Division 3 and 4 this year? So really 2 questions about Division 3 and 4 partners basically tagging out runners in those 2 levels. Susan, I'll let you answer this.
Yeah, we don't have any specific rules stating that we're not going to tag runners out in Division 3 and 4. I think as a coach, we want you guys to obviously teach the game as you are, but also include the athletes in that as best as they can. If you have one partner in that level 4 that's just that good, that's a good mentor, etc., that's kind of making all those plays, we will definitely address that with you. And it's something we've been working with our umpires and referees and the different team sports this year to really keep an eye on, as well as having more staff at the events to watch that as well. But partners are allowed to tag runners out in those divisions.
Great question. Any other questions?
And just to follow up on that, if you guys are at a tournament and you think that that domination is happening from partners, we definitely want you to come and find us so we can keep an eye on it, review it, and use it as an educational moment for other coaches, partners, etc. So you guys are definitely always welcome to come and find us, whoever's running the tournament at that time, any staff that's there, to make sure that everyone's getting a fair game.
Awesome. Okay, moving forward, I want to also talk about the coach roster, which will be for softball, really any sport moving forward. We pretty much have the same coach roster form. I'm pulling up the softball one, but as you look at bocce, you'll see the exact same thing. And I also attached it to the email that we sent. But basically what this is you will submit this with your entry form. So when we say entries are due in the West, on July 25th, you'll also send this coach roster form to your regional manager as well. This really gives them a chance to have the right contact information for you to get all the information that they need. And then all this is, you're not going to put your partners on here. All you're going to put on here are your coaching staff members. And so just a reminder, all your coaches have to be at least 14 years of age. They have to have a Class A on file, which we'll talk about. And then any coach or partner, again, this isn't for partner, but any coach 18 years or older has to complete the concussion awareness training, which is just found as you're doing our Class A. So that will be for any coaching staff member. We'll be able to make sure that they've got the appropriate credentials to be able to coach athletes. Again, and that's going to be for pretty much for any sport that we do. I'll let Susan go ahead and talk about softball entry forms and how to do those. And also, you heard Jeff talk about not being able to use a T for levels 1 through 4. But if you need to use a T, there's definitely a spot for that.
Okay, so I think Linda's going to pull up the reading form right now so we can cover that. So those of you who are coaches from the past, you'll see that this form has been much abbreviated from the past. So in the past, we've had you rate every skill of your athlete, and from feedback from you, we realized that was just too much for you to do, so we wanted to make it a little simpler. There's just a couple things you guys are still going to be doing. You're still going to be rating your team level 1 through level 4 along the lines of those levels that Jeff just talked about. And then you will just be rating each player based on that level 1 to 4 as you look through that. So if you're on a level 4 team, the majority of your guys are going to be level 4, but maybe you've got a couple of level 3s and a level of 2. That tells me when we work on divisioning, that tells us that you're a little bit of a higher level 4 team. Same thing with our level 1s. If you've got all level 1s and a couple of 2s and maybe a 3, just because that's the makeup of the folks that you have, then we'll know that you're a little bit of a lower level at that point. So we really need the information we really need on this roster to help us make things a little bit easier for you in the end of the day is the athlete name, whether they're a partner or an athlete, and then the date of birth. So for instance, if you're not able to fill it out online and we can't read what the handwriting is, then we can look it up by that date of birth. So those are pretty key. If you know gender, great. If not, it's not a huge deal. The biggest things we really want to look at are the athlete name, whether they're an athlete or a partner, and their date of birth. We want to make sure you're filling out the top with any extra email addresses that you might want to receive information. You'll put in what region you are, your team, your name, as well as the day of contact number. And then if you've got a few assistant coaches, if you coach a few teams that have different coaches and you want them to receive all the same information, please make sure you're adding all those email addresses to that coach email line at that point. We want to make sure that you are marking down if you plan on attending state. That way we can get you state information in a timely manner. And then the next box down there is the modified softball, this is the situation where we do allow a tee. So for those of you that are new, or just as a refresher, if you're going to use a tee or use coach pitch, which is what is allowed in our modified softball league, you'll check yes there. You guys will be divisioned with other teams that are going to be using the tees and using coach pitch. We had a question come up last year, if we had an athlete that was a good enough pitcher, would they be able to pitch in that situation? And we do allow that as well. We just want to make sure that they're pitching appropriately at that point. Okay. Any questions on those items? And then the next box is really if you're missing any key players. We do look at last year's results, and we do look at kind of where everybody finished last year to make sure that we have you guys divisioned properly. I think this way has actually been pretty beneficial in our last few sports. It seems like I said, it's a little bit more manageable for you guys to do, and then we're able to tell if you guys are a higher or lower, kind of in the middle of that level. Any questions on that?
No.
We do have a couple spots. Yep, we do have a couple spots down here for alternates as well. Those are folks that you can throw on the roster. You're only allowed to have a maximum of 15 on your roster at the event, but obviously you can add a couple of spots here if you think maybe people won't make it from regionals to state. And then the final section down here is a bat person. We've added that last year. I know some teams already had it, so we just put a few rules into place for it. We just want to make sure those bat boy or bat girl, we just want to make sure they're being safe. So if they're in the dugout, they should have a helmet on. And as a coach, it's your responsibility to make sure that they are paying attention to what's going on in the game. They're not running out to grab the bat when there's someone rounding third coming home. We had a few close calls last year, and we just want to avoid that. So we'll put that on you guys as well to make sure that we've got that stuff taken care of, and that athlete is safe and having a good experience in that situation.
Susan, can you clarify during coach pitch, is it coaches pitching to their own team or to the other team?
It'll be coaches pitching to their own team. So that's why if you feel like you have an athlete that can step into that role, we would allow that.
Okay, and then I know last year we talked about walking an athlete in that situation, and if there was a rule around that?
We don't have any specific rules around that. But it's definitely something we can look into.
Okay, and then do we have, so if the other team is coaching and pitching, do we have someone standing behind that pitcher to field that ball?
Yes, I believe that's what we did last year. We had another person that was there that was fielding that ball as that extra infielder at that point.
Okay, thanks.
And is this just for Division 3 and 4? So you can use a T and do the coach pitch just for the lower division?
You need to, typically I feel like if you're in the modified competition, you're probably going to be in that lower level, because if your athletes are in that.
Division. Okay. So this is a whole other division.
Correct, yes. So we have level 1 to 4, and that's following all the rules typically, as always, and then we've got the modified competition where you're going to rate your team, and most of those teams are probably going to be, like I said, a level 3 or 4. Just because those athletes are the athletes that will benefit from that T or that coach pitch.
Okay, got it. And so we are allowed to use Ts, but only in the modified division.
Yes, and to be very clear, make sure that on the entry form, you're checking the modified division. Because if you don't check that and we end up placing you in the regular division, we won't allow you to use the T. And we did actually run into that last year, unfortunately. So.
Okay, so if you're in a Division 3 or 4, but it's not a modified, then there's no Ts and no coach pitch.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions on those items? And then just as a reminder, oh, I'll get into this under rules, so we'll finish up forms first. Great. Linda, do you want to pull up the bocce forms? The bocce entry forms? Nothing has really changed for those of you bocce coaches on the bocce entry form. Just want to do a quick review on how to do the bocce entry forms. So there is a sheet on there. That doesn't seem to be on there. So typically, now it will be added. I apologize that it's not on there, but there'll be a sheet that you'll do for each of your players, and you will put the Polina out 30 feet from the end line, 40 feet from the end line, and 50 feet from the end line. And each athlete will throw 9 balls. If you're able to do that, I know practices get a little tricky, but anywhere between 6 and 9 balls is most ideal. And you'll measure that distance and then add all of those numbers together. And like I said, there's a very simple sheet that I apologize is not on there. I thought it was up there that will be up there, and it's just where you're putting things, and the form will add everything up to get for you as well. Any questions on those items?
Last year? Is the form
the same form as last year?
Okay.
Yes,
no
correct.
Problem.
It's the same thing. Yeah, nothing has changed with it. Just a reminder to measure from the middle of the bocce ball to the middle of the Polina. And we will get that up on the website tomorrow.
And Susan, they're going to measure from the middle top of the Polina to the middle top of the bocce ball?
Yes, so you'll hover your measuring tape right over the middle of it, or hold it right on top of the middle of each of the balls. Right.
Hey, Susan, we have a question, I think back to softball real quick. Do individual skill competitions fall under the modified division, or is that a separate? Individual skill is separate.
That will be a separate, yep, that'll be a separate division, so to speak, or a separate level. And the individual skills include base running, batting, fielding, and that is kind of more so rotating through its stations than the actual game itself.
And Susan, how do we indicate that on our registration forms?
There'll be a separate entry form for it, which looks like, sorry, I apologize, it looks like that didn't make it up there either. So there'll be a separate entry form up for it for tomorrow, and it'll be, Derek, it'll be just a basic list where you'll list the person's name and what the final score is, and then there'll be a sheet that will show you how to do the measurements and explain how to do the skills.
Gotcha, thanks.
Do you guys have people that are going to be interested in it?
Definitely.
Awesome, great. I don't think we've had too many in the past few years, which is, so that's great. Any other questions on those items? Then I will move on to rules if there is not anything else at that point. Just a couple of basic things to go over for softball that we may not have covered. The length of the game, as you guys know, during some of our events, we're under a bit more of a time crunch than we'd like to be. So it is ideal for us to have an hour and 15-minute game. However, as well as a 7-minute game with that time limit, 7-inning game, sorry. But based on the discretion of the tournament director, the schedule, the facilities, and things like that, the games might be shorter than that. So whoever is running that tournament, the regional managers will communicate with you what the game length will be. The batting order for unified teams will alternate partner, athlete, just as a general reminder. And we also want to make sure all of our athletes are safe, so the batters must need to wear a helmet. All of our bats must be ASA approved, and our umps will be checking for those things as well. Our pitcher's mound will be 50 feet from home plate. Please, please, please don't try to talk umps into moving that up, or tournament directors or anyone into moving that up. We really want to keep it at that 50 feet. I know some of our pitchers struggle a little bit with that, but moving them any closer is really just a safety risk for that athlete, and we don't want to put any athletes in that position. We do suggest, we were having kind of a meeting amongst ourselves, and we do suggest that in Unified 1, if you would be interested, if you want to wear helmets and get helmets for the pitchers and the third baseman, you're more than welcome to do that. It seems like it's not in our rules yet. It's starting to come across in many of the softball rules. But just as an extra safety feature, if you guys are interested in doing that, you can do that as well. Any questions on the softball rules? Great, and I think Corey's got a few coaches clinics coming up to chat about.
Do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a coach softball clinic coming up at Grand Junction. I believe it's June 25th. And I just spoke with Jason Schwartz today about putting a softball clinic on in Colorado Springs the week of June, I believe it was June 20th. And what those are going to entail is we'll do a little off-field talk just about entry forms, some principles of coaching stuff, keep it pretty minimal from the talking standpoint, but then we want to get out onto the actual field and go over some skills and drills and just give some ideas on some good practice techniques and different things like that.
Do you know where you're going to be having these coaches clinics? This is Grand Junction.
So the first one we've got is going to be in Grand Junction, and then I'm trying to work with one to get it secured in Denver. But then we also have one that's going to be in Colorado Springs as well.
Where in Grand Junction, Corey?
This is Julie. Corey. It's going to be in at Columbine Fields where we practice on our Mondays. We will just start a little bit early, and I'll get that information out to coaches.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Anything else for bocce, Susan? Any other rules? Any questions about bocce?
Yep, I don't think we had any changes on any of the rules at this point.
Okay, awesome. As far as medical applications in Class A's, your regional manager will be getting these out to you in the next couple of days via email. So if you don't hear from them, be sure to reach out because they either don't have you as a part of things or don't have the right email address. So I know their goal is to get that out. I know with Denver, Adrian will get that out probably early next week. But all the other regions will get that out here shortly if they haven't done so already. Just a reminder to have your athletes fill out that medical application the best they possibly can. I know we have a staff of 2 that handles all of those medical applications, and when they have to go back because something is missing, if they have done everything but they don't have the physical, doctor's physical on file, it doesn't get processed. So the better you can have your athletes complete that, if you want to have them send it to you and then you can get that to us, that would be fantastic just to make sure that it's good. So just let us know. I hope this process has been a little bit easier lately. As most of you know, we have a new database manager. I think we've been doing a little bit better of a job. We're attempting to. And then same thing with Class A's, just make sure anybody that has any contact with athletes on an extended period of time, make sure they're filling out the Class A link, and with that, it will automatically take them to the concussion, protective behaviors, and also then take them to the background check. So that's what I can hopefully help you guys out a little bit. And I know regional managers would love a copy of those as well. They can keep track and keep tabs on those and to help you guys out. So we make sure that we keep them for 3 years. Any questions with medical application, Class A's, what's needed?
At one of the coaches' clinics, someone mentioned that we should have copies of each athlete's medicals, but then there was the question of HIPAA. So what's the bottom line? How do I know?
Yep. So we're not,
where
Special
my athletes
Olympics,
are?
yeah, Special Olympics is not, we do not operate under HIPAA laws actually, which is it's kind of weird to think that we are different. But so you can have a copy, we can have a copy. You know, if you, the thing that I have moving forward, if you can get them to, you know, send it to you, email it to you prior to sending it to our office, the Denver office, that would be fantastic. If you don't have them and would like them or need them, contact your regional manager and we can get those pulled from our files and we can get you what we have with that. But yeah, that is a great practice to have, just to, if something happens, to have that in your, you know, for when if the paramedics show up.
Go ahead and
or
open
if you
it.
need it.
Oh, yeah.
Can you guys mute? I just heard, I'm hearing some background noise. Can you guys make sure your phones are mute, especially if you got on to talk? Any other questions with medical application, Class A's?
Linda, can I
All
add
right.
something? Michelle with
Yes.
the Southeast region. So on top of having those medicals on hand during regional and state, it's also a good idea, it's not required, but it's a good idea to have a picture with their medical. That way, if you have maybe a volunteer trying to help you, you can see, you know, who that medical belongs to. Also, coaches need to know who should not have their pictures taken. At coaches registration, I know for the Southeast region, we ask about that and they are given a bright colored wristband so the photographer knows not to take their picture. That's all.
All right, awesome. Susan, you want to talk about the states down in Colorado Springs?
Yes, we will be back in Colorado Springs for the state tournament. Softball, for those of you, for those coaches, will be at Skyview Sports Complex this year. It's a little bit of a nicer facility. They have concession stands there, and I think it'll be really great for our athletes. And bocce will be at Memorial Park. It will take place in the middle of the Criterium Loop. So we'll have cycling going around outside. Bocce will be taking place inside. We'll have a little Olympic town in that area, or souvenirs, and all those kinds of things taking place. And that is on August 19th, Sunday, August 19th.
So bocce is going to be on Sunday?
Yes.
Everything will be on Sunday except for unified tennis, which will also take place on that Saturday. Really, we moved it to Sunday to get away from all the other things that happen at Memorial Park on that Saturday. So hopefully it'll be a lot better of an event that way. Any other questions about state information?
This
All right,
is Brittany
Corey.
in Granville.
Yep.
I just had one question. So is that for everybody or is our state going to be over here? Or are we coming to Colorado Springs as well?
Yep, that'll be for everybody. We'll be in Colorado Springs.
Perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, just want to have a couple things left. Talk about, as we've been to some competitions and things get intense, just want to make sure that everybody is kind of reviews our coach code of conduct that's online. And I would love Corey to be able to hit a few points that maybe we've seen have maybe been a few things that we've run up against. Maybe some coaches have come to us and or parents and fans, and maybe they've highlighted a couple things. So Corey, go ahead and talk just real briefly about a couple things.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. That was my mute button was stuck. So we've read it. I hope we've all read it before. I know I've tried to push it out there, but just cover a few points on it. That we really want to respect dignity and worth of the athletes and our other coaches and spectators of Special Olympics. Treat everyone fairly, regardless sex, ethnic origin, religion, or ability. One of my big things is I'd be a real positive role model for athletes, and we really want to make sure that time that we spend with the athletes is a positive time, because this is probably one of the best things that they get in their lives. So make sure that everything is a real positive atmosphere for them. We also don't want to see the sandbagging, so ensure that accurate scores are provided for athletes, so that we're pushing the athletes to their full potential, and we're not putting them in divisions just so we can get a blue ribbon or a gold medal. Language, I've definitely I experienced that at the soccer tournament this past couple of weekends. Just we really want to demonstrate high standards. So your language, everybody hears it. The parents, the fans, we're representing Special Olympics and our teams. So let's really work on that. We want to treat everybody, coaches, athletes, opponents, officials, spectators, parents, and media, with the highest respect and dignity and professionalism. And we want to encourage our athletes to do the same thing. They represent you, you represent Special Olympics, so we want to push that to everybody. One thing I know I've seen at the tournaments is the smoking out and around the fields, and that kind of drives me nuts that we're pushing these guys for healthy lifestyles, and we see coaches and fans and whatnot smoking at the playing field. So please refrain from tobacco use, all that kind of stuff. Let's make sure that no personal abuse, nothing, anything, any kind of form of abuse towards the athletes, whether it be physical or verbal. We just have a zero tolerance for that. And that goes for coaches, friends, spectators, family members. Also, please be knowledgeable with the sport rules. It's going to help game days go a lot smoother if you know the rules of the sport that you're coaching. I know Susan does a great job of getting them out there. Keep the medicals. We talked about that. I also like to bring just a quick flash sheet that I can give to medical professionals if they need it. And then follow, Special Olympics and the governing body rules. And all of this is online as well. But just if you think it's wrong, don't do it. So, quick highlights there.
Yeah, great, Corey. Do we have any? Do we have any questions about that or on the state side? And then I would really, if you have any questions for your region, regional manager, or if you are in need of any coaches to assist you in softball or bocce, go ahead and stay on the line, and we have everybody on the phone that can help you find coaches for your team. We just have to know about them. I don't know that we always know exactly what you need as a coach, and we've all coached long enough to know that the more the merrier. And obviously, you have to be able to manage your coaches, but also we want to make sure you have enough to really just make sure your team gets better and you can manage practice. So that's it for the phone call portion of it. And like I said, we will be on the phone for as long as we need to answer any region-specific calls or any get you any coaches that you might need. So thank you guys for attending, and have a great season.
I have one quick question. What is Special O doing regarding volleyball?
We will have the state competition for volleyball again. It'll mirror exactly what it did for last year.
Okay.
And it will be at the exact same place.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it offhand. You're a season ahead of me, Sherry.
Right. Yeah. We're already planning that far ahead as far as our practice
awesome.
and our rec guide and stuff like that.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Elevation.
I just want to make sure I get
elevation
practices in. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I had a question about along like the smoking and tobacco use. It's more for the athletes, and it's going to be coming up with the June state games. We have, just because it's overnight, he vapes and like uses a vaporizer throughout the day. What is the policy that I can explain to him for that? That's like silence.
So I would assume it's not medical, correct? Right, like he's just doing it. So it would mostly just be following up with whatever is under our code of conduct for the athletes at that point, and sharing that with him. And I believe in that we ask him to remain like tobacco, substance-free at the competitions. But you know, obviously we know it happens. But I would just use that. So we have refrain from the use of alcohol, tobacco, or marijuana products during the Special Olympics related event.
So that will carry over just into like the evening activities and everything, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what I thought. So then I can pass that on to him. Thank you.
Yeah, so there is a bullet in the athlete code of conduct about that. So, yep.
All right, I will definitely make a copy of that for him then. Thank you.
Hey, this is Christy. I just got a quick question for you. I'm part of the Pueblo softball thing, and was curious on if you guys have like regulations on how far back the pitchers are and the bases and all that kind of stuff, or no?
Yes, there is in the softball rules, the SOCO rules, there is a specific information on how the field is set up.
Okay.
And that's under the softball section.
What was that?
Are you online? Are you online or are you on the phone?
I'm on the phone.
Okay. So there's a whole section in there about that.
Okay.
If you go to the handbook, and just click on the Special Olympics Colorado part, you can see all the measurements.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Shut this off. Dang, I can't see it. Shut it off.
Everyone's set with coaches, huh?
Did you shut up? No.
Mary, are you still on? Mary Santangelo?
Yes, I am.
Will there be a quota for state bocce ball? You mean number of players, teams?
Well, individuals that we will take to the event.
Oh, I don't think so, right, Susan?
No, I don't believe we have had that for a while, so no, I think we should be pretty good.
So if our whole team, if they want to go, we're good to take them all.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
We might be playing bocce for many, many hours, but we want to make sure everyone can play, so sure.
God. I can't, I don't know how to shut it off. Well, I guess I could.
Mary. Karen. Egan. Anybody still on? Other than our staff?
Hey, Linda, it's Adrian. I was able to join pretty early on.
Oh,
Sounds like
good.
a pretty productive call.
Think so.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for being on.
Yep.
You bet.
Anything else we didn't hit? Oh, we didn't hit the age. We didn't hit the ages.
Oh, sorry, I totally forgot about that. I was flustered because I didn't have all the bocce things up there, so sorry.
Okay, well, when you guys send
I think
out
if we can include that
in our region.
Yeah, in the emails.
So Chop, Michelle, Adrian, Julie, can you guys put a section in your follow-up regional specific emails that just make sure that we don't have 12-year-olds on with 35-year-olds?
Yes.
You bet.
So just remind them of the remind them of the categories and then oh, whoa. Put me on mute. Somebody put me on mute. Remind them of the categories and then just make sure if they have an adult team, they have to be 16 or older, right, Susan?
Yeah, they've got to be 16 or older to be on an adult team, yes.
Perfect. Okay, we had about 45 people on, you guys. Good job getting the information out.
This is Joan in Colorado Springs. Can you hear me?
Hey, Joan. Yes, I can hear you.
Is there coaches in Colorado Springs are still on the line so we can talk about, how many teams we have?
Oh, should have brought that up way earlier, Joan.
Well, I was trying to.
Hi, Joan. This is Michelle. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. I think we're going to have about 6 to 8 teams for softball.
This is Jason Schwartz. I'm still here too.
Okay.
Hi, Jason. I still need to meet you.
You too.
So yeah, I think we have about 6 to 8, give or take, softball teams. For bocce, I'm not too sure. I would have to look that up for you, Joan.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering because we're trying to figure out when I was talking to Corey about the clinic, when we could do the clinic. So.
Are you referring to softball or for bocce?
For softball.
Joan, I talked with Jason a little bit today, and I kind of connected with him, and he seemed really excited about helping out with something like that. So I think Jason and I'll kind of plan something from here, and then we'll let you know when we all can get together for something like that. Because Jason's got a lot of good ideas. Just chatting with him today.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay. So will we do it at...
Go ahead, John.
So will we do it at Memorial, or do we have to do it in a field that we have to pay for?
Are you referring to practice or region?
Oh, hey, Joan, we would try to host the clinic during one of like Jason's typical practice times. Obviously, we don't want you guys to have to pay for the field if we're hosting a coach's clinic. So we'd love to get it for no cost, but if we need to pay for it, we can definitely do that to host that. But ultimately, we were trying to get it to where it was during. We'd love to have athletes there. We'd love to have a full team there. So the more that we can kind of piggyback on a practice that was already happening is what kind of I think we were shooting for. Correct, Corey?
Yeah, exactly. That's
Okay.
you said it better.
I may be able to get a field because since I coach for Whitefield High School, I'll have to talk to the athletic director if we can't use Memorial Park.
Okay.
Doing well, doing well. Do you have any questions about bocce?
I don't think so.
Okay, great. Well, I think we're good to go then.
Okay.
All right.
We'll
have a
see
good
you
night.
around.
All right. Bye-bye.
You too.
Michelle,
Bye.
I'm still on. I don't know if Linda's still on.
Okay, cool. Well, I will go ahead and call you guys on your cell in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Call who?
The sooner the better for me.
Okay, I'll call
possible.
this immediately after this.
Okay, cool. All right.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.